What's good, fam? Thanks for joining me for another Goat Format video. So this video is actually long due. Emotreecko sent this to me a while ago. As you can tell, if you go on the Goat ladder, you'll see that he's a little bit higher than what this video says it is. But at the time of the recording, at the time of that he sent me this, Emotreecko was 198. He's playing against PUY, which is actually somebody who's really known in the Goat Format community. At the time, PUY was 269. Like I always say, guys, I never watch these videos before I upload them, so you guys are always getting my reactions. How can I say? You guys are always getting my first reactions to these videos. So anyways, guys, let's just hop right into this duel. So let's start this rock, paper, scissors. And PUY's gonna win the rock, paper, scissors. Obviously, he's gonna choose to go first. So let's show these hands. Okay, so PUY's opening hand is double magical merchant, card destruction, mirror force, and thunder dragon. Emotreecko's opening hand is thunder dragon, serpent, duo, nobleman, and gravekeeper spy. It's a bit unfortunate because he's got the thunder dragon. He might just go ahead and thunder dragon and activate card destruction. Maybe he wants to get off one of these magical merchants, so he might set one of them. There's really no reason to set this mirror force though, like I tell you guys. His next card is tribe affecting virus, so he might just hold on to his hand. In case you guys are new to my channel, the reason you don't set this mirror force is because you don't want to be susceptible to breaker. I know it's like one in 40 cards, but it happens more time than not. That you go ahead and summon a card set a card like an MST or a mirror force or dust tornado or something like that, and they summon breaker on you and you lose your card, or you set a Regeki break and you're forced to use your Regeki break right away. It's just something you don't want to do. You might as well just set the magical merchant and pass, unless he's thinking about card destructioning, but his hand is too good, I think, to do that now. So in my opinion, he's just going to set the merchant and pass. So he does choose to set the mirror force, but that was completely up to him. So he's just going to say go now. Emotreecko, what's going on here? Are you the guy that posted a video on Jinzo and Tonic's channel? Okay, so I guess PUY's been on Jinzo and Tonic's channel. Shout out to Jinzo and Tonic, bro. He's pretty cool dude, man. But let's see. It's cool to see them having like a nice chat on here. So Emotreecko's next card is Magician of Faith. So all he could really do here, unless he wants to go for the duo next turn as well, all he could really do is just nobleman. And depending on what he really wants in his hand afterwards, he might just set the spy to bait out the nobleman across out, and then set the Magician of Faith afterwards. But let's see. I think he's just gonna old nobleman here, and then he might just set the Magician of Faith. But let's see what he does. So he thunder dragons first to get to his pair of thunder dragons, and then nobleman. Yep. So he nobleman's probably just set the Faith. Okay, so he's gonna set the spy. Reason being, he knows he's not playing against warriors, so level 2 is not gonna come down and hit it. And I think in the chaos match, nobleman across out's really important. So maybe he's trying to hold on to this Magician of Fate so he can get his nobleman back afterwards. But PUY draws into Dimension Fusion, so he's playing Chaos Turbo. Real Chaos Turbo. There's really not much to do here. I guess he could just set the magical merchant and pass. Okay, so he chooses to go another route. He sets Dimension Fusion and activates card destruction, which is a little risky because if Emotreecko draws into a, well, that's a little weird. Okay, so Emotreecko has the Thunder Dragon and PUY knows that. But if he draws into Heavy Storm, then he blows out his back row. So let's see what happens here. PUY draws into Nobleman, Breaker, Morphing Jar, and Magician of Faith. Emotreecko draws Dust Shoot, Book of Moon, Night Assailant, Ring, and Blacklisted Soldier. So he gave him a really good hand there. It's funny, right? So I was talking to one of my friends. This one guy that I've been teaming with since I was a kid. So we were talking about card destruction, and we were actually talking about Trap Dust Shoot. It doesn't seem worth it to play. I mean, I know this was maybe a month back, so the format's changed a little bit, but it doesn't seem good to play Trap Dust Shoot anymore. because most people now are playing warriors, so they're gonna set their whole hand, and your trap dusher's not gonna go off. And then card destruction. My friend was talking about how a lot of the times your opponent has a really bad hand. Like if they're just passing and you card a bunch of cards, that probably means your opponent has a bad hand. And by you activating card destruction, you're just giving them a better hand. But it's funny that this came up, and I was literally just talking about this today. But anyways, let's see. So he's probably just gonna set the Magician of Faith and then knock. Again, there's really not much to do here. You don't want to summon this breaker. The Morphing Jar is just gonna get him a better hand here. He only has Mirror Force to protect that Morphing Jar, so I don't think he's gonna set it. So let's see what he does here. He's probably just gonna knock. Oh, so he actually does set the Morphing Jar, and he sets a knock and passes over. Emotreecko draws into Dekochi. This is unfortunate, right? So Emotreecko could absolutely be reading this Morphing Jar. Let's see. So I'm assuming he's gonna flip the Spy, and if he's reading the Morphing Jar, he's gonna set everything, including the Dekochi. Yeah, because I'd rather just set the Dekochi than just have it in my hand. So it's going to do the same thing if he holds on to it. So let's see what he does. Gets back his Sinister Serpent. Sets everything. Alright, so that was smart too, right? Don't flip the Spy. PUY draws into Bazoo. So he's probably going to drop Breaker and activate Nobleman. Oh no, he's probably just going to summon Bazoo. So let's see what he does here. Yeah, so he summons Bazoo, flips Morphing Jar, Chain Ring to Bazoo so that he doesn't get any of the cards banished. Discards everything. Now Emotreecko's going to get back his Magician of Faith. He draws into Regeki, breaks Solemn Judgment and Nobleman. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking card destruction. Chaos Sork and Kaiku. PUY draws into a Duo, Jinzo, Gravekeeper Spy, another Dimension Fusion, and Nobleman across out. So he's got 2 knocks. He can get rid of both cards. But when you knock, now this makes this Dimension Fusion not as good as it was. So let's see what he does. He should probably duo first. Yep, so he duos first, hits Solemn Judgment, and the next card that should be discarded. Honestly, it seems a little bit weird. I would just get rid of the Magician of Faith, because this Kaiku is gonna man up unless you want to keep the Night Assailant in there for when you draw another Night Assailant for the loop. I would just get rid of this Magician of Faith. I would want to summon this Kaiku so that to make sure that my opponent's not banishing anything for the Dimension Fusion. But let's see what he does. So he does get rid of the Kaiku. Passes over. Emotreecko draws into Sangan, which is really good. He doesn't have anything to back it up. What I mean by that is that PUY doesn't have a Book of Moon. So he can start flipping his stuff. Start by getting your Serpent back. Yeah, so now flip this Gravekeeper Spy first. Get the other Spy. Now flip the Kochi. Draw your card. Draws into a Mirror Force. So he doesn't have to man up if he really wants to. Actually, what he could do right now is just summon the Sangan. Try to bait out a Torrential Tribute. Dekochi already got his plus. Gravekeeper Spy would just go 1-for-1 with the Torrential Tribute, and then Dekochi, and then Sangan would get his card back. So he could just summon the Sangan now. Let's see what he does. Okay, so he's gonna set Regeki breaking Nobleman across out. He's probably gonna summon this Sangan, and he doesn't want to lose out on his cards. Okay, so he doesn't summon Sangan. He just swings with the Spy. That's gonna eat a Mirror Force. Book of Moon's gonna book Dekochi, which I wouldn't have necessarily done, but yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just held on to that Book of Moon. All that stuff could have gone to the graveyard. It would have been absolutely fine. Banishes Light and Dark, summons to get rid of this Morphing Jar in case his opponent has like a Tsukiyomi or a Book of Moon. And now he feels safe. He can pass over, activates Dust Shoot on draw phase. Yeah, okay, and PUY just scoops that game up. Alright, that was weird. Okay, so game 2 comes around, and PUY's going to choose to go first again. Opening hand is Thunder Dragon again. Kaiku to Ghost Destroyer. Swords of Revealing Light, which is a little weird. I see people playing Swords of Revealing Light when they're main decking stuff like Dimension Fusion, just because they don't want to eat the shots, and also it holds them off turns. It holds you off 3 turns to draw your pot Graceful, or to draw into your Dimension Fusions to go for game. Premature Burial and Chaos Sorcerer. Emotreecko's hand is Torrential Tribute, Assert Priest, Regeki Break, Kaiku and Nobleman. The 6th card for PUY is Torrential Tribute. So he's just going to activate Thunder Dragon and then set Torrential and pass. There's really not a point to summon the Kaiku with the Torrential. You kind of want to play around your Torrential Tribute. So yeah, sets Torrential and passes. Treecko draws into Nobleman. He's only got 1 Thunder Dragon in there, so I think it's safe to just summon Asura Priest. So he summons Asura, swings. Okay, so he summons Asura. That's going to get Torrential Tributed, which is great, man, because you just got rid of a power card. Sets Regeki Break, which I don't think I would have set. I would have just set the Torrential Tribute. But anyway, he passes over. PUY draws into a Gravekeeper Spy. So he could just man up with this Kaiku, try to get rid of some back row. Also getting rid of the Asura Priest. If he summons and he Torrentials, which he doesn't have, but if he summons and he Torrentials, then he has a Premature Burial for it. And it also just puts a Dark in the graveyard, so let's see how he goes. Okay, so he summons and swings. Yeah, unfortunately you just 2 for 1. Activates Swords and passes. So him activating Swords is actually good for Emotreecko, because that's a minus, and these are cards that he doesn't have in his hand technically, until he draws into a Graceful Charity or a card destruction. Then technically right now PUY only has 3 cards in his hand. So Emotreecko's 4. PUY's going to draw into his 4th card, and then Emotreecko is going to draw into his 5th card. So Emotreecko is technically up cards right now. But there's really not much to do here. Just set Torrential Tribute. Yeah, and pass. PUY draws into Dekochi, so he activates Premature Burial. Drops the Kaiku. That's probably going to get hit by the Torrential. Up. And he gets hit by the Torrential, so now he summons Sork and swings. And now he could set one of these 2, probably the Dekochi. Passes over. Emotreecko draws into Sakuretsu Armor. So he may want a Graceful Charity now just to get rid of this Chaos Sorcerer. Unless he feels like the Chaos Sorcerer is going to run into this Saku. So technically you could just Nobleman that and set Saku. But let's see what he does. Okay, so he banishes the Dekochis. Yep. You know, alright, so I was going to tell him, I was going to say this out loud, but I decided not to. He could just set this Kaiku to bait his opponent to swing in. Because if you just set 1 card, that being Sakuretsu Armor, your opponent's probably going to read that it's a battle trap, and they're not going to attack. But by you setting the monster, they're more likely to swing into it. I mean, the only other thing that can happen is, well, you know he's playing Kaikus, so maybe that wasn't 100% the right move. But Sangan, he can draw into and swing into it. Not a lot of things die off of Sangan nowadays. When people were playing regular standard goats, it was Merchant over Dekochi, and then Sangan could just run over almost anything. But that's not the case anymore. People play Tomatoes, people play Dekochis, people play Spies. Sangan's not getting over anything. So he's not going to summon Sangan, I don't think, if he draws into it. But if he draws into a Kaiku, that's probably going to get dropped. Unless he's afraid of the Mirror Force. But being that he might be afraid of the Mirror Force, he might just swing in with the Chaos Sorcerer. So he draws into Heavy Storm. He's not going to use that. So he swings in. That's going to get Sakuretsu armored. And now he's probably just going to set the Spy and pass. Treecko draws into a Night Assailant, which doesn't do much for him. Emotreecko should be reading either a Tomato or a Gravekeeper Spy at this point. So he may want a Graceful Charity, which he does. Draws into a Solemn Judgment, a Sorcerer, and a Spy. So he's going to get rid of both of these cards and pick up his Spy again. And does he have Light and Dark? He does have Light and Dark, but he doesn't necessarily have to use it yet. Just flips Kaiku. He's scared of the Morphing Jar. He's probably going to set the Spy too, right? Yeah, so he's scared of that Morphing Jar. And just says go. And passes over to PUY, and PUY draws into a Magical Merchant. So this is what I was talking about, right? So PUY has a face down now. swords just left, and then 2 Thunder Dragons in his hand. Which means that technically PUY only has 2 cards in his hand, which is Heavy and Magical Merchant. So he's got 3 cards in total. Emotreecko's got 4 cards, and he's going to draw into his 5th. The only reason he has 4 cards is because he had a Knight Assailant loop. But even if he didn't have that, he would still be up a card, because he would have his 3 and then draw into his 4th. So right now, Emotreecko's technically up 2 cards. So PUY's probably just going to set this Magical Merchant. Yeah, and pass over. Treecko draws into Thunder Dragon, so that's great. Chuck that Thunder Dragon, get the other pair. And now he should definitely read this to be a tomato or a spy, because it wasn't flipped. So if he's going to attack something, he should attack this face down. So let's see what he does. He flips Gravekeeper Spy to get the other one. Banishes Light and Dark to summon Sork. Okay, so he may be thinking Gravekeeper Spy. So this is going to get rid of one of the spies. Magical Merchant is going to come down, getting him a Graceful Charity. So now these Thunder Dragons are live. So now banish the other one, pass over, and he draws into Nobleman across out. So he has 6 cards, and Emotreecko has 5 cards, drawing into his 6. So now, because PUY drew into the Graceful Charity, now he's up cards. Wow, that was pretty bad. I don't think PUY was gonna activate that Heavy, but he flipped this. That was really bad, man. I think PUY was just gonna activate Graceful Charity. That would have gotten Solemn Judgmented. But he flipped this Solemn. That was bad, guys. He flipped the Solemn regardless, and then activated Heavy because he saw the Solemn Judgment. So now this Graceful Charity is gonna go through. Wow. Okay, drawing a Sinister Serpent, BLS, and True Nade. He's just gonna chuck a Serpent and a Thunder Dragon. And all he can really say is go now. So even with all that, PUY's not in a good spot, because this Kaiku's really beating him, because he can't summon this BLS. Some Serpent and Thunder Dragon, and just pass. Treecko draws into a Sangan. I would just summon this Sangan now. Yep, and then banish. You could put everything in attack mode if you want, dude. Yeah, swings with everything. Now this Serpent's gonna go, and this Chaos Orc is gonna go also. Pro play, man. That was a really good play. So the reason he didn't get rid of the Chaos Orc is because Chaos Orc already came down. Like I said, though, if he would have put that Gravekeeper Spy in attack mode, he could have just banished the Chaos Sorcerer. But the reason he didn't banish the Sorc is because it already came down. So if he activates Dimension Fusion, he can bring back that Sorcerer. But he should have just manned up with a Spy to put him in a range where Dimension Fusion is not even a problem. Draws it to Jinzo, and that's game. Yeah, man, so that's game, guys. Yo, Emotreecko, thanks for sending me this match. I think I have one more match with Emotreecko that I need to load up. Like I mentioned in one of my videos earlier, guys, I'm trying to catch up to all these duels. I have a ton of them that I have to do. But this was a really good game, and I'm glad I got to do it. Guys, if there was any more plays that you would have done differently than I would have, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any comments or any suggestions for me to do any videos for you guys, let me know also in the comments down below. Like I always say, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Share this with your friends, especially if you really like this video. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, and like this video. And if you want to help support me, guys, to no expense to you guys, check out my TCG player link in the description below. If you're going to cop any cards, just go ahead and cop them from there. It's not going to cost you anything extra. And if you do want to help support me in another way, guys, check out my merch link in the description below. Get yourself some GrindingGoatFormat tees. And like always, guys, I'll see you on the next one, all right? Peace.